Welcome in, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live. It is Thursday, the 18th of December, and this is a very, very special day on the soccer calendar. This is the final round of the UEFA Conference League group stage, James. These are massive, massive gains for certain clubs involved. This is what it's built up towards. Match day 6 of the Conference League. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Steve. And you're right, it's a huge day for so many clubs in this competition. We've got 18 fixtures today, all 36 teams in the group phase taking part. So really important day. We've been looking at all the matches. We don't have a lean or a pick on every single game, but we have something on most of them. And it shows just how competitive this competition is. I was looking through the league table, Steve, when I was doing my research. I mean, it's amazing, really, isn't it, that the team in 4th place has got 10 points. The team in 24th place has got 7 points. So you've only got 3 points separating 20, 21 teams, something like that. Shows just what a tight and competitive competition this has been. And it means that, we've looked at in detail at so many matches because so many of these teams do still have something to play for.
Yeah, we're going to go through the majority of the games. We've got either official picks or leans in. There's a few we don't have anything in. Put your best bets in chat. I know there's lots of people who watch this show globally who've got angles in loads of different matches, the quirky games where perhaps a lot wouldn't even cover. But I want to welcome everyone in, as per usual. Duncan Evans, Gratza, good to see you. Ray Burke, as always. Steve from Lynn, a great pleasure. Dave Clark as well. Great to see you. Biaka, hello. Will you cover AFCON? I like Senegal. Look, if there's a demand for us to cover AFCON, we will cover AFCON. Don't you worry, Biaka. Let us know in chat if you want us to cover it. The first match is on Sunday. And I think, from that point onwards, if we've got matches on the day, then we probably will cover AFCON. That's for sure. But, okay, just a few things to note. Some notable winners and losers yesterday on the sportsbook. Mixed day. Not a lot of action going on. Man City Brentford live over 6.5 corners was a loser at -213. In terms of the winner, Manchester City team total over 1.5 goals against Brentford at -110. That's a really good winner. And an interesting one, of course, Celtic lost 4 games in a row last night, and someone did have the half-time full result at 33-1. $35 was on that, $1,155 return. There's talk of Wilfred Nancy getting sacked by Celtic after just 4 games in charge. Incredible stuff, what is going on there at Celtic. And great implications on the SPL title race as well, James. We could talk about Celtic all day, couldn't we? But that's probably for another show. But it just shows you in football, doesn't it? How quickly things can change.
It does. I think the managerial situation for both of the old firm teams this season has been fascinating, hasn't it? We had the situation with Russell Martin at Rangers, who I felt a bit sorry for him because he sort of had his back against the wall from the minute he was given the job, and he didn't last that long. And now we have a similar situation with the new manager at Celtic. So it's incredible, really, that you can have 2 such huge clubs. I'm not going to say making mistakes with the managers they've appointed, but they both certainly haven't gone as well as they would have hoped so far. Let's wait and see. It's very early days whether Celtic will hold their nerve and hope the man they've appointed can get them through this. But it's not where you would like to be, is it, as a big club who've appointed a manager 4 games into his time in charge?
No, and it's just this sort of debate these days about style over practicality over results. What do you favour? And I think the Russell Martin in the early stages of Wilfred Nancy, it's been too much a case of they've come in and done their own thing straight away. And I'm not sure you can always do that at certain clubs. But
I think it depends. Just very quickly on that, Steve, it depends on the players you've got, doesn't it? I agree with you. There's a lot of this these days, isn't it? We're seeing it in France with Nantes and Luis Castro, a manager with a particular style. So I'm quite old school on this stuff. I tend to think the manager's first job should be to look at the players he's got and adapt his style to them, rather than have a style and tell the players to play that. But interesting times at Celtic and in Scottish football this season for sure.
Notable live streams today you can watch on the BetRivers app or betrivers.com. Napoli AC Milan in the Supercoppa Italiana. I didn't even know that match was on, to be honest, James. Reading versus Luton Town in EFL League One. Porto Famalicão in the Taça de Portugal. Galatasaray versus Başakşehir in the Turkey Cup as well. I never ever pronounce them well. Apologies to their supporters. And 5 KMVB Becker matches as well. That's a tricky one, isn't it? SF9, need a cat to make a cameo. She's right here, aren't you? There. She's here. She's sitting down and she's waiting to make her appearance. But producer Troy's been racking his brain to think of an American comparison to a team not named Celtic or Rangers to win the league in 40 plus years. It's very unique. It's the first time since 1993 that a team other than Celtic or Rangers will be top of the league table at Christmas. And the last time a non-old firm team won was the Aberdeen side managed by Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yes.
In 1984.
Something like that. Those were the days, in the 80s, Aberdeen and Hearts came very close. They had a good team in the mid-80s for people that can cast their mind back so far. But yeah, for 40 years, they've pretty much had it their own way, haven't they? So it is a big season in Scotland, a pivotal moment in recent and not that recent history in Scottish football. So it's a story that I think, regardless of what happens with the Celtic manager, is going to run for the rest of the campaign.
We'll have to ask Dan Roebuck tomorrow on Betting Weekly Extra Time. He'll remember those days, won't he? When Aberdeen lifted this SPL title. But let's move on to today's matters. The Conference League table, like you said, James, this is how it looks. There's one game left. Several sides are completely out of contention now, sadly. In fact, a good number are completely ruled out. But it's certainly in the advantage of a lot of teams to get in the top 8 because they'll avoid having to play in the playoff round. And obviously, the battle to get in the top 24 is going to be incredible. Lincoln Red Imps from Gibraltar are currently 24th. That would be some story if they qualified for beyond the group stage. So, like you said, it's really, really tight. We'll come back to this table a few times during the show as well because it's really important we know what's at stake for each team. But let's crack on to some of the games. And for me, I'm going to have a thought on this first game here. Shamrock Rovers against Hamrun Spartans. We've got a Maltese side in operation here, travelling to Dublin, Ireland, on what's quite a cold day, a wet day in Ireland. I'm not sure they're going to enjoy this trip. Shamrock Rovers are the best team in Ireland. They just won the league by a country mile, really. And I think it's fair to say they're the strongest team from the Emerald Isle. The issue I've got with them is their own domestic league has not played since, I think, the 1st of November. So there is an air of rustiness about them. They lost in Iceland last week. I'm hoping they come on for the run here. And I'm hoping also that the Irish side will have quite a bit of pride about themselves. Prize money as well, coefficient points, because minus 113 at home to beat a Maltese opposition, for me, that is very, very tempting. Knocking on the door of even money. And I am going to bet it. This is more of what I would call a strong lean. And as I say, the doubt for me is that lack of domestic rhythm. But they did play last week. And the Spartans, I just think that they are one of the poorest sides on paper in this competition. So for me, money line on Shamrock Rovers. You're not going to get involved in this one, James. What are you going to predict?
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that, Steve. I think they should win it. I tended to leave alone a lot of the games today where one or both teams taking part are already out of the competition. I think it does throw up question marks about motivation. When a team is out, obviously they've got nothing to play for as regards qualifying. And then for me personally, I find it difficult to then read secondary factors, whether a team would be motivated for the sake of it or not, and that type of thing. So people will see today, there's a few games where I've left them alone because of that. I focused fairly strongly on games between teams who are currently in the qualifying positions, maybe feel quite close to sure of having a qualifying position, but are looking to move up if they can into the top 8 or the top 16. So that's kind of how I've come at it. So interesting to hear your views on some of these other games, Steve, because I know you've looked at one or two of the teams who are already out and games involving those sort of sides.
I am often attracted to teams involved where they've got nothing at stake. It's weird. I don't know why it is. I think it's one of those where Shay makes a really good point. You've got to try. I love working out who's going to be up for it and who's not. And if you get it right, it's a great feeling if you call it right, because you feel like you've got you put a lot of effort in, you've worked out your edge. I do agree with Shane's comment there. Mattes has got Shamrock win to 0. And Biaka likes betting Hamrun Spartans on their corners line. I think I did actually get involved with a couple of their matches in the corners. Graham Burke, anytime scorer, says 2 meter WTU. Mattes will talk about the Lincoln game soon. Nigel is on board here. He lives 5 miles from Crystal Palace, and we've had torrential rain all day. It's flooded. It's going to continue for another 7 hours. Something to consider for tonight. Yeah, I actually did have a look at the weather forecast for all the games today, and incredibly, London was one of the warmest locations today in the whole Conference League card, which is remarkable when you consider the amount of matches widespread across the continent. Yeah. Let's say the league table, the second match there, Celje against Shelbourne. This is actually one of the few matches we don't have much on. I was looking to oppose the Irish side here, Shelbourne. Celje are normally very much an overs team, but Shelbourne don't score many goals themselves. In fact, they're going to come here and try and park the bus and get the prize money draw, I think. But if we look at the league table, Celje, it would certainly be in their advantage to try and win the game. If they win, they might get in the top 8. Goal difference could be a thing as well. So I was looking at the -1.5 for Celje, but this is a really unique. But normally Celje are the underdog in nearly every game, or not fancied. For what now they're -315 favourite. That can be a tough dynamic. Shelbourne nearly covered the Asian handicap away to AZ Alkmaar. I think it's a big negative for them. They've not been playing competitively. I'm going to leave this game alone, and so are you. Dynamo Kiev against Noah. Again, we've got a situation here. Noah definitely the team with far more to play for there. We look at them in 17th position. They can get into the positions probably 9 to 16 is realistic for them. They're completely knocked out at Dynamo Kiev. Played in neutral territory in Poland. I think you could do worse than Noah draw no bet as a lean here. I went against them at Aberdeen and they proved me wrong. They played quite well in that game. And that I'm a bit surprised Dynamo Kiev are nearly evens there, James, when they've got nothing to play for.
100%. There's a few games on the card today that we'll be covering where the motivation of teams doesn't appear to have been completely taken into account with the prices. This is one of them. Dynamo Kiev at nearly evens, even though they're already out of the competition. They're on 3 points. They're in 28th place. They cannot qualify. They're completely out. And obviously the game is on neutral territory. So it is very difficult for me to see why they are such short price favourites to win it. Noah are the outsiders. They're not certain yet of being in the top 24, though they probably will be. They're on 8 points. They've got a 2-point cushion over the teams who are outside the qualifying positions at the moment. And I think that might be a factor in these prices. It might be a case with a team like Noah of them thinking, do you know what? Obviously, we're going to try and win the game. A draw is almost certainly enough to qualify. Even if they lose, I think if you were to run some models on this, they'd almost certainly go through as well because, they, as I say, they've got a 2-point cushion over the teams outside the qualifying position. So it's a tricky one. I'm not 100% sure how Noah would approach it. Probably play for the draw and would probably accept the draw. Yeah, if you did that, there's some handicap plays on Noah that would work for you. So, yeah, I think some of these teams who are in fairly comfortable positions, sort of 16th, 17th, 18th, maybe down to 21, 22 in the table, the question becomes how keen will they be to try to move up into the top 12, top 15? And I'm not so sure how motivated some of them will be. But I think the top line point you're making, Steve, is correct. It's that we have a home team here who aren't even really playing at home. It's on neutral territory, who are clear favourites, even though they are eliminated from the competition. In a basic sense, that doesn't make a great deal of sense to me. So if I don't have a pick or a lean on the game, but I think on those prices, Noah would be the value play for sure.
Yeah, I'm leaning Noah there on the draw no bet. And you can get a good price on that, really. You could even go draw double chance if you wanted to. But just looking at the latest odds for Noah on the draw no bet line, and it is at +133 on the tie no bet with Bet Rivers. I think that's pretty generous. As I say, for me, of those top 4 games, the best bet of them would be Shamrock Rovers money line if I had to pick one from those top 4 games. Slovan Bratislava against Hacken. Neither of us have got anything in this one. Both sides have got nothing to play for apart from pride, prize money, coefficient points. I mean, to be honest, Slovan probably look a little bit generously big in the market, but I'm just not sure. They've not played very well in this Conference League. The top of, I think they're second or top in their own domestic league, so they should probably have enough for BK Hacken there. But ultimately, I'm not going to get involved in that one. The next game on the card is a really interesting fixture. We both agree on the same pick here, and I think we're both actually quite strong on it. Yeah. Lausanne-Sport against Fiorentina, Swiss opponents against bottom of the table Serie A, Fiorentina, although the Conference League has been a decent distraction for them. We've both got the same bet, but we're going to have to convince the audience here, James, because We are looking at the overs goal market, and Lausanne have drawn their last 3 games 0-0.
Yeah.
So talk us why you like the overs here, and then I'll add something afterwards.
Yeah, they have. And only 1 out of 5 Lausanne games so far in the group stage has gone over 2.5 goals. So it's going against the trend as far as Lausanne are concerned to go over goals here. But I'm confident this will go over 2.5 goals. And actually, the market has moved in that way as well. I think this morning it was minus 118 and over 2.5 goals now, or just before we went on air, was minus 148. So I think instinctively Lausanne are going to be really positive here for 2 reasons. The first is they are 16th in the table. And while they are almost certain to be in the top 24, where they need to be to make it through to the knockout phase, I think they'll think this is a great chance to win a game because they're playing a Fiorentina side who are in terrible form. We've seen that week after week in Serie A now for a long time. And I think at home, Lausanne will feel they can do a job here. So you're right. Their current goals pattern in this competition isn't that encouraging for an overs play, but they got nothing to lose here. They're 16th, as we can see there at the moment. They still have a chance of moving up into the top 8. And if they win here, that might happen. So there's no reason I can see why Lausanne wouldn't go all out to win this match. And then Fiorentina, defensively really poor for me recently in Serie A. They're in a better position in the league table here. They're up in, I think, 9th or 11th in the table. They've got 1 more point on the board than Lausanne, but they'll want to get in the top 8 as well. So I think both teams will be open here. I don't see any reason why Fiorentina would be particularly defensive. I think they'll get drawn into an attacking game anyway, by the way Lausanne will play. And Fiorentina's matches so far have been more, have had more goals in them than Lausanne's. 3 out of 5 have gone over 2.5 goals for Fiorentina so far. So I thought the price this morning was great, minus 118. As I say, it has moved since then. It's minus 148 now, but I would still take that. You may want to look at over 2.75 goals instead if you're looking for a price nearer to evens. But the general view of this game from me, Steve, is that it will be open and attack-minded. And I think it's got all the ingredients for a final roll of the dice for these 2 teams. It's the final match day. And as I say, Lausanne being at home to a Fiorentina side who are out of form, great chance for them to have a real go here and win it. If Lausanne were away from home to Fiorentina, I personally think they'd approach it differently. But being at home here, I think they'll go for it, and I think that will lead to an attacking game. So it's a pick from me. I think over 2.5 goals is a good way to play this match.
I can tell you now that the money is with the over for this fixture. 92% of the money's on the over, 91% of the tickets. 66% of the money's on Fiorentina and 70% of the tickets on the money line for them. I really like this over as well. And like I said, the last 3 Lausanne games in all comps have all ended 0-0. But on one of those, I actually gave out the under last week on the show, Cups versus Lausanne. That didn't shock me in the slightest. That match was played in minus 5 degrees Celsius, I do believe. So there's a reason for that. And along with defensive opponents, they had a 0-0 against Lugano at home. And then at the weekend, they're away to Basel as a clear underdog. And they had 9 men for the last, I think, 25 minutes of the game, or 10 men for the last half an hour and then 9 men later on. That's a good result for them, away to Basel 0-0. I also think one thing we've got to say, by the way, is the scheduling for a lot of these teams. This is a hectic scheduling December for a lot of these teams that are in domestic action. Palace, we'll talk about them soon, but I think Lausanne, for them, this is going to be their 5th game in the calendar month already. They went to extra time in a cup game. I think they could be tired. I think Fiorentina win this game. I think they're using this as a great distraction. Their league form, producer Troy is absolutely right there. Winless in their last 5 row matches across all competition. They've been struggling for wins full stop, especially domestically. But look where these 2 teams are in the table. We've got 16th against 11th. There's no pressure on them at all. It's a great spot to be, actually. They're going to qualify. It's one of those positions where you might as well swing hard to try and get in the top 8. Yeah, and I think Fiorentina will win this. Someone has put in chat, keen to score anytime. Gratson has said he likes keen to score anytime. And I think Fiorentina are an overs team at the moment. They can't defend. They've got no real identity that way. The pressure's kind of on in terms of in Serie A. But I think they'll bring the best out of them here in the Conference League. Over 2.5 goals, minus 148 is definitely, this will be one of the best bets on the show. We both agree on it. And I think we can go against the grain here of these recent Lausanne results. Just looking back in some of the comments, Matek says Slovan and Hacken goals over 3. and 2 meters, set over 1.5 goals in the second half for that Hacken game. So interesting that chat like the goals there. Let's move on to some more fixtures. Omonia Nicosia against Rakow. I like Omonia here on the draw no bet handicap. I'm not really sure why they're so big. This is the Cypriot teams have done well this season in Euro competitions. Paphos have led the way, obviously, in the Champions League. These guys aren't far off Paphos in the league table. So if we're saying they're just maybe the next notch down from Paphos, who are the best team in Cyprus, Omonia Nicosia should not be draw no bet here at home to a Rakow side for me at -118. If we look at the league table, Rakow are obviously going well at the moment. They're in third place. But Omonia have also had a pretty strong campaign, 8 points. There's no real pressure on them. Rakow, really, they could lose this game or draw it and get in the top 8. So I actually think Rakow will come here and play for the draw. The Polish sides confuse me. The whole Polish league confuses me, James. I'm sure you've seen a lot of the tweets going out recently about how tight the Polish division is.
Yeah,
it's hard to know who is good and who is not so good. Rakow. I don't think any of the Polish teams are that great. They're all right. They're decent. But they're not that great. I'm happy to oppose Rakow here. Draw no bet on Omonia Nicosia. -118. Actually, it's -120 now. I like the Cypriot teams this season. I know you're not no picking this one. Any thoughts on Polish soccer at the minute? I just find it really confusing.
Well, we had a fantastic comment, didn't we, underneath the Our European Weekly show? Was it last week or the week before, from one of the viewers who gave us a brilliant rundown on the state of play in the Polish league, which was great to read. It's obviously not a league that we cover on our weekly European show. We cover the big 4 leagues in that, France, Germany, Italy, Spain. But yeah, it was a fascinating breakdown from a really knowledgeable viewer. And it's one of those leagues I've not followed particularly closely, but we know how important this competition is to teams from Poland and from other countries who are similarly placed in the UEFA coefficient rankings. So we know they go into this competition taking it seriously. But I found quite a few teams actually pretty inconsistent in this competition. People may have noticed that on days when we've had the Conference League and the Europa League playing at the same time, I've actually had more picks from the Europa League because it's a competition I feel has been a bit easier to read this season. So I generally concur with what you're saying there, Steve. I would broaden it out away from just Polish teams and say quite a few teams taking part in this competition have been difficult to read this season.
The coldest weather in the Conference League today is in the Polish games. So any Polish teams at home, and that includes the matches between where Shaktar Donetsk are at home and also Dynamo Kiev, because they're playing on Polish territory. Not mega cold, but still the coldest conditions of anywhere. And you're absolutely right on the extra time show. Punter 639, he was the commenter.
Yes.
We appreciate everyone who puts all the comments on all the shows. We try our best to respond to them. Keep them coming. Thanks, everyone. We support. Keep hitting that like button as well. Really helps the channel. And anyone new, then do consider subscribing. We've got over 12,000 subscribers now. We'd love to get to 13,000 as soon as possible. AEK Larnaca against Skendija. This was a match that passed me by, but it didn't you, James. We've got a clear home favourite here, AEK Larnaca, another Cypriot team. You like a play in the goals market here?
I do. This is another pick from me, and it's the same as my first one. It's on over 2.5 goals, which is now minus money, I would think. It certainly was half an hour ago, just before we came on air. It was minus 118. There's been a huge move on that because it was plus money this morning. It was plus 112 when I took a look at it in some detail and thought it was a good play. But I'm happy to stick with it, even though it's flipped from a plus money to a minus money play. Over 2.5 goals at minus 118. I really like. Now, there is no trend on this related to these two teams in the competition so far. Only 1 out of 5 Larnaca games has gone over 2.5 goals. None of Skendija's 5 games has gone over 2.5 goals yet in the Conference League. So if you're looking at the two teams and you favour that sort of way of coming up with your picks, this would not be one for you. But for me, it's more about the game state, actually, or the state of the league table, I should say. Larnaca are in 10th place. They're on 9 points. So they're in a good position. there's no reason why they wouldn't swing here to try to get in the top 8. They're just outside the top 8, which is where you want to be. Just 1 point behind Mainz, who are 8th in the final top 8 position at the moment. So I think we know what we'll get from Larnaca. We'll get a really attacking performance. Skendija are in a dangerous position in that they're down in 21st. So they're currently in one of the qualified positions for the playoffs, but they are only 1 point ahead of the teams who can still qualify and are currently outside the qualifying positions. If you look at the league table there are only 3 sides currently outside the top 24 who can jump into the top 24. So there aren't that many places at risk between 17 and 24. But Skendija on 7 points are one of the teams who are at risk. So I think they'll be slightly nervous about this game. They have to take it seriously because they are in danger of losing their spot in the top 24. And I just feel that Larnaca are going to come out and potentially take the lead here. And if that happens, and they are the stronger side, then this for me will become an open game. So I really liked it when it was at plus money, plus 112. I'm happy to stick with it. I generally stick with my picks, even if the price changes, unless it changes dramatically. It's changed, but it's not changed dramatically for me. Minus 118 on over 2.5 goals, I think is still fair. So yeah, as I say, it's not anything to do with a trend on these two teams in the competition. It's more about the final day dynamics, really. And I liked where these two sides are in the league table. And I think the impact of where they are in this particular face-off will make this a more attacking and open game than probably these two sides have been involved in so far. So it's a straight play from me, over 2.5 goals. Whatever the price is, as I say, it's gone minus money, but I would still take that because I think it's a good play.
Yeah, again, the Cypriot side at home here, they've done well in the league table. Bring the league table up again, 9 points for them. They might as well swing to try and get in the top 8. And Skendija, with that goal difference of 0, I think it's looking all right for them, really. Look, they might as well have a go to try and get in the between 9 to 16. If you finish in 9 to 16, you will have the home leg second in the playoff round, which a lot of people consider that an advantage. That's debatable. Personally, I would always rather prefer it, but you do get an advantage to be in those positions. And, you know, technically you should be playing worse teams as well. The teams that finish sort of 20 to 24th probably are going to be worse. So there is incentive there. But over 2.5 goals, that is what James' bet is for AEK Larnaca Skendija. The next game is the subject of one of the daily double parts of the day. Again, it's a pick that we both agree on here. We've got Zrinjski against Rapid Vienna. Rapid Vienna side who've been terrible in this league phase. Really didn't expect this from a side who made great progress in the competition last season. We've got a Zrinjski side who have been going pretty well. In fairness, compared to what was expected of them. They've got a chance to qualify. They're one of the teams here, James, I think, that those 17 to 24 are looking over their shoulder at, because Rapid Vienna, no points on the board, nothing to play for, struggling domestically. I mean, I'm really surprised you can get Zrinjski here at nearly even money. Yeah. I think they've got to be one of the best bets of the day, if not the best bet. I don't see a case to be made for Rapid Vienna at all.
Well, I'd love to know what some of the viewers think of this, because we've been chatting about this all day, haven't we, Steve? And we looked at the price and we both agreed with it being a good pick. Not that we agreed with the price, we agreed with it being a good pick because, Zrinjski are just outside the qualifying positions, but only by 1 point. They've got everything to play for. And if they were to win, there's a pretty good chance they'll end up in the top 24, because you'd think if they do win and go up onto 9 points, they would move above a couple of sides and probably knock somebody out of those 24 top positions. They are facing a Rapid Vienna side who are bottom of the table, have got 0 points on the board and are already eliminated. So you're at home, you've got everything to play for. Your opponents have been worse than you in the competition so far, have got nothing to play for, and you're available at minus 115. I was really surprised it's this close to evens. I thought Zrinjski would be something like minus 160, maybe minus 170. And I was even considering looking at them on the Asian handicap, maybe minus 1 goal start, because motivation is a huge factor on final days. We know that from league seasons. This is a league competition. Zrinjski, I think, would have maximum motivation here. What an opportunity to climb into the top 24. They're in touch. They're just a point outside it, and they're at home to a team with nothing to play for. So, yes, they're favourites, and they're minus money favourites, but I thought they would be a lot shorter than this. So a straight money line play for me at minus 115 Whether they will shorten in the final 2 or so hours before kickoff, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But you're right, Steve. Rapid Vienna have been really poor in this competition, and they've not been playing well domestically either. I think they've gone 8 games in all competitions without a win. I don't know about the team news. It's too early for us to give any strong views on that, but you would imagine there'd be some rotation here, given that they're already out of the competition, so potentially even weaker than if they were at full strength. One of those games where all the factors are on one side and all the factors against the team are on the other side. It's too good to overlook. So, yeah, as I say, I was prepared to take a much shorter price than this on Zrinjski and then maybe back them on the Asian handicap instead. At the moment, we don't need to. We can do it as a straight money line play because it is close to even. So, yeah, strong pick from me. Minus 115, minus 120. It's around that price. At that price, I think Zrinjski on the money line are a really good shout.
I don't know what I'm missing here. I thought there'd be minus 160, minus 170 to win the game. I think they have to be a bet. Villa fan, good to see you. Just checking in briefly from work. Doing quite well. Up the Villa, he says, and Villa are doing really well at the moment. Yeah. I want to give make one final point about this game. And I'll credit in Balkan Scout on X here, at Scout_CRO. He claims that apparently Rapid's travel didn't go very smoothly in approach to this game. Instead of landing in Mostar, their airplane was forced to land in Dubrovnik due to bad weather. The players then had to travel 2.5 hours by bus. This caused further issues, and their final training session was cancelled. So issues there. Look, I know that's a factor some like to consider. It wouldn't surprise. Zrinjski, for me, they're the best bet of the day. Yeah. I can't get away from it. They are one of the parts of the daily double. Jenna Philly says is the same play. It's his favourite play. Doesn't understand the odds. Biakar says Mostar's been underrated by the books. Mata says there is a problem with the Zrinjski squad. They've been losing some points against poor teams. He likes both teams to score. Great one says this is like betting on a tennis challenger. There's certain teams that some people haven't even heard of. Absolutely right about that. Betting splits for the game: 81% of the money's on Zrinjski, 88% of the tickets on them as well. I think they look a really, really solid play here. The final match on this first part of the card here: Mainz Samsunspor. It's you, James, who got a betting angle in the game. Mainz really shocked us both, gotta say, against Bayern Munich, put a great performance in against Turkish opponents here who I don't know much about Samsunspor, I must say. I know Dan Roebuck's watched a lot of them. He's done quite a few commentaries on Samsunspor. Whether or not he's going to be on the comms for this game, not sure. But Mainz, they're in 8th place. If they win the game, they will avoid the playoff round. And that, for them, in a season where they're going to be fighting relegation in the Bundesliga, would really help their fixture congestion. So I think there's quite a dangling carrot. Samsunspor, though, they're in the top 5 at the moment on goal difference. So 2 good teams against each other. How are you seeing this one going?
Well, I'm going goals again here. Not happy with Mainz at the moment after they let us down at the weekend. I was on Bayern, wasn't I? As were you, Steve, and Mainz caused us trouble there. But over 3 goals is my play here at plus money at the moment, plus 106 on over 3 goals. So you would get your stakes back with this play if there were exactly 3 goals in the game, and you'd make a profit if there were 4 or more goals. I like it because of a couple of things. I think Mainz will absolutely go for it here. Again, we've referenced it already, but it's the final day. You may as well have a go. And you're right. They're in the top 8 at the moment. They will feel, I think, they need to win to be sure of being in the top 8. If they were to draw, they can be overtaken by some of these teams who are just a point behind them at the moment, like the likes of Crystal Palace, AEK Larnaca, Fiorentina. They'd all overtake Mainz if they were to win and Mainz were to draw. So I think they'll go for the win. As for Samsunspor, I think they will as well, Steve, because they're probably a little bit disappointed, actually, to be 5th. I know that sounds a bit odd because it's a good place to be, but they actually won their first 3 games in this competition. They've only then taken 1 point from their last 2. So they had 3 straight wins, and then they've drawn 1 and lost 1. So in a way, they'll probably be a bit disappointed with where they are. And they'll absolutely, I think, want to make sure they do finish in the top 8, because for much of this group stage, that's where they would have felt they were going to be. So in that sense, I think they'll be fairly positive as well, because they're only a point above the teams from 9th through to, I think, 13th. So they're in danger of losing their top 8 spot as well. What does all of that mean? I think it's going to be an attacking game, this. As a lot of Samsunspor games have been anyway, 4 out of 5 for them have gone over 2.5 goals so far. So there's evidence they can be involved in a high-scoring game. And it's one of those matches where I think it will start fast and start fairly positive. And if we were to get a goal probably in the first 30 minutes or something like that, then I'd be fairly confident about this. So, the goal line is slightly different. The market is expecting goals here more so than in some of the other matches taking place today. That's why I've gone with over 3 goals rather than over 2.5 goals. But over 3 goals at plus money, as it was just before we came on air at plus 106, I really like that because I'm expecting this to be a really open match.
Going against the grain here with the money, James, 59% of the money's on the under, 77% of the tickets on the over. It's kind of a theme of the day, though. You've got to look beyond the obvious, I think, in this round because of the situation of the matches where the teams are. Mainz, I think it's a massive dangling carrot for them. If they win, they're obviously in the top 8. They really could do with those 2 games off in the new year, and I think they're going to be bang up for it. Dan Roebuck's in the house. He's on AEK against Craiova today. On the comms, but he's got a player to watch out for Samsunspor. Says they were poor last week versus AEK Athens, that is. But they've got Oliver and Cham back, who loves the shot, not so much on target. So Oliver and Cham, watch out for him in the shots market if you are interested there. Let's move to the second part of the day. We've got AZ against Hagliona Bialystok. AZ did interest me when the Asian handicap was -1. But it's -1.5 now, James. There's been a lot of movement towards AZ Alkmaar today. And ultimately, I don't want to get involved when the line's moved by 2. So I do think AZ will win. They may well win comfortably, but I'm not interested in them at minus money on the -1.5 Asian handicap there. If we look at the table, AZ or another team still would have every chance of making the top 8. Hagliona, Bialystok. It's been an okay campaign for them so far. They've got opportunities as well. But for me, just that the handicap's gone out of control there in the AZ game. And Shaktar, Rijeka, this is a fixture. Neither of us got anything here. The way I looked at it, a draw actually might suit both teams, especially Rijeka. Rijeka, not a bad side, but struggling in domestically a bit this season. Shaktar have been the best team in the Ukraine. Again, played at neutral territory in Poland, quite a cold venue. I think it's the coldest venue of the day here. It's in Krakow, Wisła's Krakow Stadium. It's going to be below 0 in Celsius. But if you look at the table, the Rijeka, a point for them would not be too bad. Shaktar are pretty much in, really, aren't they? 12 points on the board there, but they've not really played anyone good, Shaktar, in this tournament. Nothing on those 2 games for me, James. I don't know if you've got any brief thoughts about Shaktar.
No, I left them alone. I think there are some games today where, as I've said, the motivation of either one or both teams actually in certain matches sort of stumped me. I looked at it in all sorts of ways, and if I wasn't feeling especially confident that I had a read on it, I've tended to leave them alone. So we have, as I say, between us covered most games, but there's 1 or 2 which have slipped through the net because we've taken a look and we don't really feel that confident about them.
Those 2 were one of them. Dan says overs in the AEK game and AEK -1. Pineda big at +500. That's AEK Athens game, which we didn't really touch on at the top of the show, but there's some information from Dan Roebuck. And get watching it on the world stream, and you'll hear his dulcet commentary tones. Jenno Philly says keen to score a goal at +140 is a great bet for him if he's in the lineup. I mean, that is a good bet actually. Moise Keane does look one of the most dangerous players for Fiorentina at the minute. Sparta Prague against Aberdeen. For me here, Sparta Prague are a bet on the -2 Asian handicap. I think there's actually night and day between the 2 teams, if we're being honest. Aberdeen especially. Aberdeen are out of contention. And I think Sparta Prague could, if they want to, rack up quite a big number on them here. This is an Aberdeen side that lost, I think, 5-0 or 6-0 in Athens. But -2 on the Asian handicap for Sparta Prague at -115, I think, is a really good bet. Sparta Prague, they need to win to make sure that they get in to the top 8. That's the only concern. Sometimes if a team just needs to win, they do the bare minimum. There's no real advantage for them to rack up the goals as such. But I think they will by default. Aberdeen, nothing to play for. And they've got a big game at the weekend against Celtic. So you've got to think Aberdeen will be focusing on that fixture against Celtic. Rather than this one. So I like Sparta Prague -2. And then the next game on the card, we go Sigma Olomouc against Lech Poznan. It looks a close one in terms of the money line. Genuine pick 'em, really. It's another match that you are getting involved in the goals market, James.
I am. I'm going over 2.5 goals here as well, which is at plus money. It's plus 125. I think it was plus 132 this morning. So clearly a plus money play here. You may want to take it down to over 2.25 goals, which would be a shorter price, but would be a more conservative bet. But I'm strongly going on over 2.5 goals here. And I was a bit surprised it is such a clear underdog in the over 2.5 goals market. I think the reason for that is that both teams are on 7 points. Lech Poznan in 20th place, Sigma Olomouc are in 22nd place. I think the market thinks they would both be happy with a draw here, because if they were to draw and then both end up on 8 points, they're almost certainly through. I know there are teams on 6 points just outside the qualifying positions, but there aren't that many teams on 6 points. So your chances of being caught and overtaken, if you get 8 points to finish with, are fairly slim. So I think that's how the market is reading this. I think it's expecting a fairly cautious and conservative game. And I do understand that. So that may explain why overs is a clear underdog. All I would say is that 6 out of 10 games so far in the Conference League group stage involving these two sides have had over 2.5 goals. That's one of the strongest pairings, actually, looking through the fixtures today, of any fixture in terms of how many games so far involving these two sides have gone overs. And I quite like that. And then if you dig into it a little bit more, I think it does show that there are some defensive weaknesses on both of these two sides. So I'm banking on that trend continuing. As I say, some people will look at that league table and think these are two of the sides in the bottom half of qualifying who may just be happy with that if they can hold on to it and stay in the top 24. And as I say, they may calculate a draw would be enough to do that. So you may want to take a look at it in running, see what sort of a game it is, see how sort of committed to attacking they are. But as we're broadcasting now, I quite like the over price here on over the plus money price on over 2.5 goals. So I'm willing to take it. I'm probably not as strong on it, Steve, as the Lausanne-Fiorentina game where we talked about over 2.5 goals earlier. But the advantage here is, of course, you've got much better odds. So, yeah, it's a pick from me, over 2.5 goals in this game, and it's available at the moment at plus 125.
Yeah, I think that's what's really priced you in here, hasn't it? The actual odds on the line, plus 125 for over 2.5 goals. You've given us 4 overplays on this show today, James. Lausanne-Fiorentina over 2.5 goals. AEK Larnaca Skendija over 2.5 goals. This one here, Sigma Olomouc against Lech Poznan over 2.5 goals, and Mainz against Samsunspor over 3 Asian goals. Of those 4, rank them in order of your best 4. What would be the best bet of those 4 overs?
My strongest would be the Lausanne-Fiorentina game. I know the price is short and has shortened, but that would be my strongest. My next would be the Mainz versus Samsunspor over 3 goals. And then I'd rank the next 2 jointly, actually, the Larnaca Skendija game and the Sigma Olomouc versus Lech Poznan game. So yeah, if you were staking them as a staking plan, I'd probably go 2 points on the Lausanne game, 1.5 on the Mainz Samsunspor game, and then maybe 1 point each on the last 2. But yeah, I'm quite strongly on overs. I'm not sure this competition has been as open across the rounds so far as the Europa League, but I think on this final day, there's a chance of seeing some of these games go overs.
If you parlay over 2.5 goals in all those games, it would pay 10-1 with Bet Rivers, plus 10.34, just out of interest. We nearly got the big parlay in last week that we suggested.
3 out of 4.
Rafa Benitez letting us down there, but maybe this time we can get all 4 in. We talk about best bets. Now, this is a really interesting game to talk about. Crystal Palace against Cups. This is your best bet of the day, as you were saying to me off air. Now, the interesting is Palace at minus 435 against Finnish opposition at home. Cups are 11-1. Cups are in a position where, if we look at their in the table, a point potentially could get them in. There might be a situation where they have to win. Crystal Palace are just outside of the top 8, but we know because of that fixture between Mainz and Samsunspor, if Crystal Palace win, they will be in the top 8 in the table. Well, you've got to keep an eye actually on the goal difference of the other teams as well. but it would put them in an advantageous position by winning by a few goals. We've had Nigel come in the chat telling us about the weather in London today. I think it's not going to be raining at kickoff, possibly light rain, actually, but we know that it could well be a little bit on the soft side. Team news is really important here. We know the manager, Oliver Glasner, has said there's going to be a completely different 11 that takes the field in this game as what takes the field on Saturday evening in just 48 hours' time against Leeds United at Ellen Road. The question is, we don't know what the 11s are going to be. This could be a mixture of strong, weak. It could be a complete rotation. We don't know. Is that the reason why Palace are so generous here, James? Minus 455 in the money line now. Asian handicap minus 175. If this was match day 1 or 2, surely they'd be minus, 2.5?
I think so. Yeah, I think the team news is a factor in this. Yeah, those quotes from the manager are super useful, aren't they? Because he's made it clear, as far as possible, he's going to pick 2 completely different starting 11s here in the weekend. Then it becomes a question, like you say, of, well, what does that mean the starting 11 tonight will be? We don't know the answer to that. I think it will be fairly strong, and there's mixed views on that, but I think it will, because I think they really want to get in the top 8. You know, they're just outside in 9th place. They know there's a very good chance if they win, they land in the top 8. So at the very least, they want to make sure they win it. They've got good squad depth for me, relative to other sides they're facing in this competition. It'd be a totally different question if they're in the Europa League or obviously the Champions League. But I think the squad depth that they've got is good enough that they can rotate in maybe 5-6 positions in this competition at home to a team like Cups and still win comfortably. So I think they'll take it seriously, and I think the team will be competitive. As for Cups, very interesting where they are, isn't it? They're just outside the top 24. They're in 25th place. They've got 6 points. You're right. A draw could be enough for them. But I think they'll probably need to win it. Now, do they believe they can win it? I don't know. But I think however Cups approach this game works for Crystal Palace. So what I mean by that is, if they do think they can win this game, or they're going to play to win it, I just think that will open all kinds of space for Crystal Palace. And they'll probably have an easier home match than they would against a team that was going to park the bus. We know that Cups are not going to park the bus unless they've written off their chances of qualifying. And why would they do that? They're going to have a go in some way, shape or form. So I think Palace will get more space than they probably would otherwise. And if Palace were to go ahead, then I think one or two things happen. Either Cups go for it even more, which should open even more space, or Cups think, actually, do you know what? This is over for us. We can't get through. So I can't see a scenario tonight in the game, in the way the game will play out, that doesn't suit Palace. And as I say, they're going to be motivated to win, to try to get in the top 8. And I think the team, whatever it is, will be strong enough to win. So I really like Palace here to win. They're obviously very short to do so. My play would be Palace minus 1.75 on the Asian handicap. With that play, you would make a profit as long as they win by 2 or more goals. It has got a bit shorter. It was minus 115, I think, this morning. I think now it's closer to minus 135, something like that. I'd still be very happy to take that, because I think Palace get the job done and quite comfortably. And as I say, I think every potential scenario as to how the game will play out would suit Palace here. So yeah, strong play from me. If you're looking to do this as a single, Palace minus 1.75 would be my play. If you wanted to do it in a daily double, as we do, then obviously you can maybe take a different handicap line. But it's the top line would be Palace for me, would be the way to play this match.
Yeah, Palace minus 1.75 Asian handicap. That was going to be your best bet of the day. We're going to lower it, though, for the daily double. We're going to put Palace minus 1 on the Asian line. So as long as Palace win the game, that part of the double would not lose. We're combining it with Zrinjski on the money line there against Rafa Vienna, plus 144 for the daily double. There were lots of permutations we considered for this daily double today. We were so tempted to put that Lausanne-Fiorentina game in. And honestly, for me, I was really tempted to put Sparta Prague in as well. So, you know, those are while they're watching, you can make maybe a few more parlays based on the the stuff we've given out today on the show. But that is the official daily double. Palace minus 1 Asian handicap and Zrinjski money line plus 144. I can tell you most of the money is on Palace for the game. 91% of the money and 97% of the tickets. That's no surprise. 96% of the money's on the over. And it's interesting, there's quite a few under sort of trends for the game. Producer Troy put that up, and it's something to perhaps consider. Cups are an under team, but And I do agree with Stephen Hall. I think a draw will be enough for them if we look at the table one more time. If I was Cubs, I would come and I'd play for the draw. But Palace can't play for a draw. They need to win the game to make sure they get in the top 8. So it's not one of them where both. It's very unlikely a draw would suit both teams. There is I think, a potential where it could, but it'd be very, very extreme elements. That is the situation for that one. Cups, by the way, no competitive game in the league domestically since 9th of November. I still think that's genuinely negative for these teams, especially as we're entering nearly Christmas. Just a few more games to wrap up on the AEK Athens against Universitatea Craiova. Dan Roebuck's on comms for that. He's given a couple of plays in the chat, so check back on those. Rayo Vallecano against Drita. The same question is going to be asked about corners. This is a match, actually, I would just specifically go for Rayo corners only. The match corner line is at 9.5, but the Rayo corners line is at 7.5. There's every chance they could win this corner line 8 or 9-0. Because I think they are going to dominate territory against Drita from Kosovo there. Rayo Vallecano need to win to make sure that they get into the top 8. I'm a little bit concerned about Rayo in terms of the matches. I think they're really starting to catch up with them. The schedule's a problem for Rayo Vallecano. So I think they could labour to a win, which often means that, again, the goals are not going in, which might territorially. But I would go Rayo corner line today, over 7.5, Rayo corners only. Don't know if we can rely on Drita to actually contribute in that capacity. Strasbourg, Breidablik. Strasbourg very well positioned, aren't they? Are they officially in here, James? I think they are, but they want to win. You do get bonuses for winning the league phase. Yeah, they want to be professional, and you potentially to get a better draw as well. I think they could rack up potentially quite a big win, even with a full rotation here against Breidablik. Again, the Icelandic side who did grab a win last week. Breidablik, and Breidablik are one of the few teams still in contention to qualify. They've got to go for it, and I think that suits Strasbourg big time here. I think Strasbourg on the -2 Asian handicap is worth a look at, and I think actually over goals could be worth a look at here if Breidablik are as open as we think. But the goal line's at 3.5, so I'd much rather take the Strasbourg handicap. What sort of lineup we expecting from the Association here?
Yeah, some rotation. AFCON has kicked in now for League One. They have more players away at AFCON than any other league. I think it's 50 players in total. Strasbourg have lost 2 players who went away this week. The right back and another player who escapes me right now, centre back, isn't it? So a couple down in defence. I think they're going to rotate. What's really interesting about this game, Steve, is that Strasbourg, people may have noticed their form has fallen through the floor recently. But specifically what they've struggled against are teams who've been sitting deep and being very defensive. We know Breidablik cannot do that because, as you rightly say, they need to win. They're 2 points outside the qualifying positions at the moment. I don't think they're going to have given up. They know it's a long shot, but they're presumably going to go for it and give it everything they can. They have to win, so they can't look at a draw as a good outcome. That is the sort of game that Strasbourg have been crying out for now for quite a few weeks. They'd love a team to come to their place and attack them. So I think it will really open up. The manager has said they will rotate. They've got a couple of players missing, as I say. Emmanuel Emega, the centre forward, is out injured anyway as well. But they've got a deep squad. And I think this is a really nice game for them because they're not under pressure to qualify. They're already through. And if Breidablik play the way we think they will, I think it will be just what Strasbourg needs. So they should get the win here, even though they don't really need the points.
Both teams to score is hitting 4 of Strasbourg's last 5 Conference League games. Has produced for Troy. Wouldn't actually shock me if Breidablik got on the score sheet, but I think something like 3-1-4 on Strasbourg here. I like the -2 on Strasbourg. Don't like the -2 as much as I like the -2 on Sparta Prague, though. One final game, and I am going to get involved here, James. Just a little bit of pizza money for this one. This is the most dangerous bet I'm having all night, without a doubt. I am going to back the Lincoln Red Imps on a +1.5 Asian handicap at -113. Now, if this was match day 1 and Lecce Warsaw were -295 or -1.5 on the Asian handicap, they would be a max bet. They would be a max bet. Because they are a lot better technically than the Lincoln Red Imps. But we've got to look at the league table where it's been a horrible campaign for Lecce Warsaw. They can't qualify now. We mentioned that Polish bet of the weekend that someone gave out on Extra Time Show. It was opposing Lecce. They're in all sorts of a mess. They're terrible domestically. Really, I think their eye might go off the ball here. And Lincoln Red Imps are going to fight for their lives, their whole lives. If they qualify for the knockout round here, the bonuses they're going to get, it could be life-changing potentially for some of these players. So they're going to give it absolutely everything. They're going to need something. They can't lose this game and hope, because the -5 goal difference is going to really cripple them. I think they can actually get a point. +1.5 Asian handicap at -113. This is risky because we know they're a Gibraltar side. But I'm hoping that the motivation and drive carries them forward here.
Well, the motivation, Steve, is huge. I mean, I take everything on board about the difference in quality that you've referenced there, but motivation, what a difference it makes. And they're out, aren't they? Legia Warsaw are out. It needs stressing that you've got a team here who are -295 who cannot qualify. So how good is a team who are much better than the opposition if the better team don't need to win, don't need anything from me? I mean, that's what we'll find out here. So I completely take it. I looked at it and I kind of bottled it, actually, because in the end I just thought, well, I'm just not sure. But I think, fortune favors the brave sometimes, doesn't it? And I think in terms of motivation today, there's 3 or 4 games where the prices don't actually really reflect the motivation of the two sides in question. And this is definitely one of them.
Someone put, I think it was Matesk in chat earlier, said he's going to bet on the Red Imps money line +850. I don't think it would be the biggest shock in the world considering the circumstances of where the two teams are. Louis Mitt says under 3.5 in the Lecce game, several players unavailable. Why would you risk anyone when they've got nothing to play for and they've got domestic issues?
Exactly.
So that's absolutely where I would think of as well in that one. Best of luck, whatever you are playing today in the Europa Conference League. That's our official daily double again. Crystal Palace, -1 on the Asian handicap, and Zrinjski money line, +144 double there. For me, the best bet on the card is Zrinjski money line. I really like Sparta Prague -2 Asian, and I do like that over Lausanne Fiorentina over 2.5 goals as well. Just remind us what your best 2 bets of the day are.
Yeah, my best bet as a single would be Palace -1.75 on the Asian handicap, which is around -115. I really like the Lausanne over 2.5 goals play, but I think our double is great there, Steve, because I think Palace, you got the insurance of -1 Asian handicap. It's only going to lose if they don't win, and I think they will. And Zrinjski are one of these teams who are not priced up based on motivation. They've got everything to play for. Their opponents don't. I think that's a really good daily double.
A guy called A says, yes, we've got some NFL splits. I think producer Troy's going to put them up on screen now. It's a big game. It's Rams at Seahawks. The Rams have done me really well recently, James. And the player of theirs in the rushing yards, Blake Corum, has been really, really kind to me. I'm not sure whether today's the day to get on him because I think the Seahawks defense is really good. The best place to get your advice on that, Betting Weekly Live, later on, US edition, Mike Carver, Doug Kazarian. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern time. They're going to break down this game. There is a notable wager of nearly $10,000 on the Rams money line at +102. And producer Troy's going to put the splits there of the tickets for that big game in the NFC West on Thursday night. Football, we just about got through it, James. Really, thanks so much, not just for today, but also the whole Conference League season so far.
Steve. Yeah,
we'll reconvene after in the new year, and we'll have a look at the futures market and everything like that. Premier League show, that's going to be out in 2 minutes time with Dan, Jack, Nigel, extra time tomorrow at the same time. Thanks everyone who joined live or on demand. Please do hit that like button and subscribe if you can. But until then, until next time tomorrow, me and Jack write on the show. Good luck, gamble responsibly, and cheers again, James. Take care.
Cheers.